What's up, guys? Good evening. Should be live. Number 16 of the 30 chats of the 30 days. And I have the high, tall task today of interviewing the best interviewer in the hobby. I'm here with Pokemon Wonder. Wonder, before we hop into it, you just want to let people know where they can find you, where they can support you, and then we can hop into the conversation.
Sure. First and foremost, thank you so much, Java. Thanks for having me. It's an honor to be here. Anytime I can spend time with friends in the hobby and share and chat and just kind of go through a great conversation, I'm very grateful for the time you give us. So I really appreciate that. Guys, you can find us at PokemonWonder.com. From PokemonWonder.com, you can see everything from our lives to our YouTube channel to TikTok, Instagram, you name it. It's all there. Primarily focused on singles and English, but do a little bit of Japanese, a little bit of everything. But we appreciate your support, appreciate all the love, and look forward to the day.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I'm still very surprised that I have had almost no issue scheduling people. There's been one swap of days and one reschedule, but other than that, it's been smooth sailing, and that just
I
I
love
think
it.
is I don't know. Thank you, thank everyone for wanting to take part in this.
It's great, and I love what you're doing, and I hope that you continue. It will be challenging if you keep 30 days on 30 days on 30 days, because that's when the problem comes.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna get past the first 30 days first, and then we'll see how that progresses. But wonder if you could give us maybe a little backstory on you, Pokemon, and how that's progressed into kind of what it is now with your business, and
Sure.
then we can kind of talk about business breakdown and stuff like that when we get to that point.
Okay. So for me, going back to the time that everybody else was in Pokemon, 1999, 2000 ish time frame, I'm in the military, jumping out of planes. So like I'm not looking at Pokemon cards, to be fully transparent. Now, earlier than that, I was a very big basketball and baseball collector, and then Ninja Turtles and things like that. So, for me, this is the space I lived in, and comic books as well. So I was very much a collector early on, and I still have literally everything that I had as a kid. My kids literally have my Ninja Turtles on the floor right now as we speak. They were playing with them. Um, and that was really my collector bug, and I really enjoyed it. Went to the games, focused mostly on basketball as I got towards the end of high school. These are the days of Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. Like, this is all like the big players, and so I just love that space. And so I'm collecting. I'm at this show, and I'm just thoroughly enjoying every single game and trying to essentially do what we do in Pokemon, but in sports. Um, Military comes along. I don't know what I want to do essentially with life. And I jumped from high school education and graduation, thankfully. Thank you, Mom, for not letting me quit. And then I jump into the Army, airborne infantry. And so that was the next, 4 years. So that's when all the Pokemon stuff kind of started to happen. And I knew about it. It's like Charizard, Pikachu, yeah, whatever. Fast forward really until 2014 is when I had my first son. And so Ethan is his name. And it wasn't until roughly around 2020, I may get the days wrong or the years wrong because I'm terrible with dates, but I think it's 2022, 2021, something like that. And he starts to talk about Pokemon. I'm like, I'm not getting into this game. Like, I don't know what it is. It sounds silly. No, I'm not buying it. And so he kept asking and kept asking and kept asking. And so eventually, okay, fine. Like, let's do this year. I'll buy you Pokemon for Christmas. And so as I'm preparing for Christmas, now this is like October, I'm buying some Pokemon. And I'm of course I'm the guy who's like looking for deals. I'm on like Facebook and Craigslist and like all these other places, eBay. And I find a couple of collections, and I go out and I pick them up, and I'm like, oh, this is actually pretty cool. So I start to like dig into it a little bit. I'm like, oh, there's a game, like a TCG game. Oh, okay, I like that. We didn't have that with sports. Oh, there's a video game. Oh, there's an anime. I'm like, oh, this is actually a lot better than I thought. So then I get sucked in. So at this point, like I'm building, before he even gets his Christmas gift, I'm like picking up my own cards. I got my binder going, and I'm enjoying it because it touches back to that sports kind of collectability, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it from there. Fast forward a few more years, and I'm like, well, we're spending a lot of money on Pokemon. Like, a family of 4, and when I say that, like my wife collects, my kids collect. My wife and my kids and I all play TCG against each other. I played at regionals in 2022, 2023 here in Charlotte. I got destroyed, but I tried. I'm doing every aspect of it, and so at this point, I'm like, wow, I've really needed to find a way to optimize the cost on this because I'm spending a lot of money. So, well, I'll just do it as a side hustle. I'm working full-time job, and I'm in IT. And I'll just kind of sell on the side and some extra things we have, things we bought that we don't need. And that kind of spun into the business side of Pokemon Wonder. So, well, I can create a YouTube channel. Why not? Let me try.
Yeah.
Which then evolved into the podcast. And then eventually, in March of last year, I lost my job. I said, well, this has kind of been going for like 8 months now. Let me see if I can now do this full time. And it's possible, but I don't know. And so a year ago, last month, I've now been doing it full time, and it's my full time job. So I've skipped a lot of detail. Feel free to ask anything, but yeah, that's the short story.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think it does provide a little bit of security when you have a successful side gig when it comes to like rocky situations and in the workspace. And people, even our company, I think last year around that same time, cut a lot of employees. I think it was just the round of cuts going around the different big businesses and stuff. And it's nice that you were able to fall into something and that you've successfully replaced it, and you're killing it. So that's great.
I'm so thankful. Yeah, it's been a blessing in disguise. I never would have thought, if you would have told me 2 years ago, hey, you're gonna do Pokemon for a living, you're crazy. Like, what are you talking about, man? That's a kid's game. There's no way.
No,
but I love it. I'm absolutely thankful every morning.
That's awesome. So with the creation of your YouTube, what spurred you on to want to start talking to people and have the podcast and different interviews and stuff?
I saw a few things in the space, as most of us do in different areas of our lives. Like I listen to podcasts on health or fitness or finance, and like, I enjoy these podcasts. They're fun, but whether it be Joe Rogan, whatever you're into, but I don't see, like, other than at the time it was like Radar. That was, Radar was kind of the inspiration. And I'm like, I don't see a lot there. And at that time, I think Radar was taking a break. So I'm like, you know what? Let me see. And I do a lot of, in the corporate world, we do a lot of research, and I'm sure you know this as well. We have to present to, stakeholders and CEOs in different companies. In this case, I was in the retail industry, so I'm presenting to like Target and JCPenney, and there's these huge brands. I do the research, build the conversation, we talk through it, find solutions, and ultimately, give a product at the end of the day. I said, can I transpose those skills into a podcast? I don't know. To be fair, and I apologize to Dan and a few others that were on retro that were early on while I was finding my way. But I ended up finding a nice pattern and trying to say, I want to learn about Pokemon space. I don't know enough. And what better way than talk to some of the best people in the hobby and just literally share the conversation with the world, have it in a nice structured way. And in my case, again, taking that transposing of corporate world, doing research and making sure you understand what you want to know, and not just walking into it blind.
Mm-hmm.
And that turned out to be something that people liked. I'm like, this is pretty cool. It took me a while to kind of fine tune it. But yeah, I just wanted to have a great conversation and learn more and build friendships. along the
Yeah.
way. And I think we did a pretty good job at that, and I still have more to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, like you said, I think a lot of the people who are doing those styles of conversations kind of stopped. Like Jake stopped doing
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Radar was kind of in and out of his podcast. He used to do a podcast with Squeaks as well, and they
Yeah.
stopped
Love
doing
that one.
that. A lot of these like long form podcasts just kind of like disappeared. Like people just stopped doing them for whatever reason. And then you came along, kind of filled that gap, and are filling that gap right now with thoughtful, interesting conversations. What I really like about the conversations that you have is you come off, and in all the interactions I've ever had with you is just like a genuine person
Mm.
that I think if your conversation, if your video got 50 views, 100 views, 9
Yeah.
views, as long as
Right.
it was a conversation where you learned something and it was a thoughtful interaction, I think you probably wouldn't care because you just come off that way.
Uh, and that's really it. And I would imagine, that type of metric deters a lot of people.
Yeah.
If your goal is to get clicks and subscribers, long form Pokemon content is probably not the one you want to go into.
Yeah. True.
And I'm okay with that. I don't, and I don't mean it in any negative way. I don't really care that I don't have a lot of subscribers. And I was talking to a friend at the Collecticon here in Chicago, and they gave a compliment. I really appreciate it. He says, you have a really great group of people that come back, whether it's your live break or whether it's a Pokemon podcast. And it's just a really close family. And I think that's really special. And you do a good job in how you approach the conversation. I said, I really appreciate that. And that's really all I want. I don't need a lot of subscribers. I'm not trying to make YouTube my main revenue source or anything like
Yeah.
that. So for me, it's okay. But did you enjoy it? Did you have a good time? Did you learn something? And hopefully I can make a connection and a friend, and we can hopefully see each other in the future, whether it's a future Collecticon or something else. So that's really the goal. And
Yeah.
I will say that I talked to Walrus in Chicago. So shout out to Walrus. And in doing so, I told him, I said, I've taken just a slow breather on the podcast because I truly felt I wasn't giving my best. And so I need to step back and really think about how I'm delivering the podcast, the guests, how I interact, because I don't want to do it just for the sake of doing it. I don't want to say I got to have a podcast every week because that's the schedule. And I
Yeah.
don't want to do that either. I want to make sure I bring the best conversation, the best interaction, but also the best part of me. And I felt like I was losing a little bit of that here the last 3-4 months. And so I wanted
Mm.
to take a breather and reorient myself, if you will. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely. I'd love to talk about because obviously a lot of work goes into learning about your guests before you even have them on. Because I
Yeah.
mean, I think the meme at this point is Wonder's going to find something about your past and pull it forward, and something you'd never think you would find, type of thing, because you do a lot of research. So I'm curious, when you're approaching a conversation with somebody in the space, what's that research look like? Like, are you just watching all their
Yeah.
videos? Are you actually like, how far are you digging? What do you know?
Well, it's really weird because and I've said this before. I try to do it. And thanks, Fomo. I appreciate you, my friend. Much love, buddy. Good to see you, Felipe. Um, I try to do my research as a sign of respect, and I want to have a nuanced conversation that the guest enjoys, that's tailored to them, but the audience can also thrive and learn something about them that they don't see in their normal YouTube life, or from the person that only appears in chats they've never seen or heard before.
Mm.
And so I want to go deep enough to do that, but it's also a double-edged sword because people get afraid because I'm going to pull up some dirt on them, and I've never tried to put anybody in bad position or make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And when I detect that, if I've done a good job, I try to navigate away from it. But yeah, I think people sometimes hesitate because I don't want to go on Wonder's podcast because he's gonna throw me on the bus. But
Do you think
I
you've
put
had
up
people say no because they're afraid of Like going too
I've
deep?
some have told me,
Oh, okay.
like I'm not comfortable sharing my personal life like that.
Gotcha.
And so it was an
Yeah.
eye-opening experience that I'm like, okay, well, going deep is for me a sign of respect, but also, and I've tried to also tailor that to the person. And so
Mm,
I have conversations many times leading up to the podcast and like, hey, is there things you don't want me to say? Is there things you don't want me to ask you, or things that you aren't comfortable speaking to? Because I have already a fully thought list, which I'll speak to in a minute.
mhm.
But I'll just totally negate sections of that when I have, because the guest just isn't comfortable with that. They don't want to talk about their family or their dad or the death of a family member. And okay, like I totally get that, and I want to respect them. That's always been the key, but obviously open that door and making sure they know that that's an option is the hardest part, because now they see the podcast, like, oh my God, this guy goes deep. No,
Yeah.
no, 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 thank you. I don't want to be on the podcast. So it's weird how it's been a bit of a double-edged sword. Um, but I tend to do between 40 and 120 hours of research just in video alone
Wow.
per person. Um, and then that typically what I do is I draft out. I have an outline, but that's just kind of general kind of topics or general ideas or summaries. And
Hmm.
then I start to fill that in per person as I'm listening. So as I'm listening to 40, 120 hours, depending on what they have available, I'll start just putting those in the organizational sections, and I'll create a new section if one doesn't exist. So if they're really specialized in sports, then I might say, okay, well, hey, I need to add a new section because that's not something I'm used to. Or comics, like with Neo cards and comics, like,
Mm.
okay, he was somebody different that I needed to make sure I have a different kind of approach to, or even not nostalgianomics, but uh, Darchomp. Like, okay, he's
Mm.
very specific on vending. Like, I'm not really asking a lot of vending questions. Let me
Yeah.
focus on that a little bit more for him, plus some other areas. But as I listen to content, for me, things start to unfold. And then one of the things that I was always good at in IT is like connecting dots. So as I'm doing years, in my case, I was 22 years in what I did. I can connect dots across multiple parallels or multiple verticals, and see things that don't necessarily reveal themselves unless you, oh, well, he posted this on Instagram, but he said this in a YouTube video like 3 years ago, and then today he said this. Okay, now that also correlates to these things, and so I can kind
Hmm.
of connect some of that, and it's not like I'm like drawing a spider web with like little pins and needles
Yeah.
and lines across on a weird kind of plot that nobody wants to see. It's actually just mentally like, oh yeah, he did say that, let me see, does this make sense? And so I'll kind of draft ideas out as I'm going. And then from there, what I'll do before any podcast is I'll sit down and I'll look at everything I've written down and just think like, okay, now what about this person? I've got to know them indirectly a lot. And what am I missing?
Mm.
What is it that they're probably willing to share, but hasn't shared with the community so far, that I would love to hear, and perhaps their audience and their fans would love to hear? What's a side of them that they don't show because they're on their camera on their side? Now, this is a time for them to be a different person and kind of show the other side of them. That's not just, hey, I got to record a video this week.
Yeah.
Uh, so I kind of go through all of that, and it takes me a while to craft every outline. And then, ironically, from that, just without thinking about it, I'll sit down and say, okay, what's the intro?
Oh
And
yeah.
from the intro,
Your
it just
intros
kind
are famous at this point.
of was.
They're
It's
very
weird,
thoughtfully put together.
because once you've done all of that, and you say, okay, what's the intro? And you start to write that intro, things to me just come naturally. So I'll start talking about the person, weave in like little intricate details that most of the time only mean something to the person. Like, there's so many times it's a miss on the audience because they don't know the details of the game that Squeaks played when he was a kid that his dad bought him. Like, they don't know that, but Squeaks loves that.
Hmm.
And so like I weave that in a single sentence, but then tie it back to general purposes of the audience, and all these things kind of go well together. And then I kind of tie it in a bow if I can to who the person is. Like for you, it was, the erupting volcano.
Mm.
You're there. It's in your logo, but you've absolutely exploded in what you've done over the past 2 to 3 years. And so, like, watch out because Java's coming, right? I mean, it's hot lava, and so tying all that together, I think, is it's just fun. It's a fun journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're basically like almost crafting a story in itself with the
Right.
intros and stuff. And then I like the idea of you get to hear a lot of things, but then kind of what are the holes in the fabric? Like
Right.
you have a bunch of pages, but a lot of pages are ripped out. So it's like
Right.
how can we fill that in the conversation? Yeah,
Right.
that's very cool. Um, One thing that I find difficult or have found difficult in a lot of these interviews is
Mm.
the kind of active listening aspect of it. It's like listening is great and it works and it's fine and I can do it. But the ability to be able to take like one sentence that somebody says in a full explanation and then be able to craft like two or three more questions off that sentence, like
Mm.
real time, to keep
Right.
the conversation flowing. I feel like that's probably just like a small talk thing. um, but yeah, it's a skill within itself to be able to keep a conversation going. And a lot of your conversations are 3 to 4 hours long. Like they're pretty long. I can imagine doing that much, but yeah, you definitely have a knack for it.
Yeah, I would say that the one of the things that's really nice about having given that much time into crafting a draft of a conversation is that as the conversation unfolds and they say something or they open up that door that you asked the question on, like you're genuinely, at least in my case, I'm sure you're the same, but you're genuinely wanting to know, oh, well, what about this? Well, your dad did that. And then how did this work out with your mom? Like, was she doing this? And where did that collector bug come from? Was your grandma like, and then that leads you down this like rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But like, I really want to know, like, I'm genuinely curious, because I'm like, well, I didn't think to ask that question. And then we open the door with this first one, and I have these things. And sometimes because we go down the rabbit hole, I have to skip an entire section. Like I was like, I don't have time for these 30 things. Like, let's just go ahead and move on to the next point because we
Yeah.
went 2 hours now down this rabbit hole. But it's funny because for me, in a lot of ways, it naturally reveals itself because you've already done the research and you generally would just want to know more about the person and you care. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess when you do that much research and you have a lot of questions already kind of planned out,
Yeah.
or different topics already planned out, when someone brings something adjacent up, you can kind of move
Right.
into that next thing, and you
Right.
can kind of keep moving and moving and moving,
Right.
as the
Yeah.
flow of the conversation progresses. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
And it really does itself. I have to stop myself from making this a 5 to 10 hour conversation because then I would just be in a different category.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's run through chat. We'll get back into
Yeah,
it, but let's run through chat and say
sure.
hi to some people. So we got iFOMO. We've got Navi Station excited to be
Hey, buddy.
here. We got Beer Ski
Hey, buddy.
in the
Love
chat.
you.
We've
Love
got
you.
Pokey Kid.
Pokey Kid. Hey, buddy.
We
Good
got
to see you.
Felipe.
Yes,
We
yes.
got Hoodoo and BB and Nan P and Retrospecs
Love you guys.
and Alice and Shiz. So many people in here right now. Appreciate you
I
guys
love it. Thanks for stopping in, guys.
coming in and hanging out. Yes, and I want to say it is a just as much a Q&A for you guys for Wonder as it is for me. So while I have questions and topics, make sure you guys put your questions in chat and we will get to them as we get to them. And make sure you put the little stop sign up there so that I know it's a question, or else I might miss it. But yeah, we really appreciate your questions. Okay, so I'm curious because you've interviewed a lot of people, and most of the people are in collectibles, if not Pokemon. Are there any trends or commonalities that you've noticed with that kind of run in most of the people that you've interviewed?
In terms of the industry, in terms of the person, where
Well,
would you like me to go?
maybe either how they interact with the hobby, how they've chosen to build their businesses, like mentally, behaviorally, yeah, stuff like that. Like, is there a success metric you think in the people that you're talking to that are successful in what they're doing that is kind of a through line with everyone?
Yeah, and when we talk about that in terms of success, we need to probably divide that into a couple of spaces. And at Java, you know, I will rant. So feel free to interrupt me
No, yeah,
if
go
I'm
for it.
going too far off left or right field here.
No.
Um, but if you say success, what does success mean? It's subjective, right? So in success for business, are the people honestly, and this is one that I'll even contrast with my own point of view, are people that are able to take the emotion out of it, take the nostalgia out of what we see and feel, and look at this as terms and numbers.
Mm.
No offense, Dan the robot, like he doesn't have any perspective on nostalgia. We saw retro in here, like retro is just running the numbers, and nothing wrong with that. Now there's some things he likes and things he enjoys, but he's not driven by that. And that's the question you have to ask: what's driving you on a day-to-day basis? And so the people who are really successful in business, Jeff Bezos, Steve Jobs, you name them, that it's about the product, it's about what they're delivering, and optimizing that in every possible way to give the customer the experience that they perhaps didn't even know they wanted, but they will pay you for. And so bringing that in terms of business is what makes you successful. Now, if you take the other side, I'm going to merge the two together here in just a minute.
Mhm.
It's, well, am I successful in collectibles? Which is really subjective, right? I mean,
Yeah.
am I collecting what I enjoy? Am I having fun? Am I not putting myself in a bad financial position? Am I taking care of my family or myself in the meantime? Am I taking care of my health? Like all these things matter. But if you're doing that while collecting and you got a great collection and you enjoy it and you can sit down and look at your binder or your slabs or your sheets or whatever that may be, and you're happy in that space of collectability, then you're successful. And you're obviously striving towards a goal.
Mhm.
Now, the question always has been for me is, can those two coexist? Because that's what I want to have. I
Yeah.
enjoy playing TCG. I enjoy playing TCG live. I enjoy trading with my kids. I want to flip through my binder and like say, I really like this card. I want to get this new Charizard that I don't have, or this old Lugia card that I've always wanted, the Crystal Lugia. Like I don't have one. Can I get that one day? Um, these are things I don't want to lose. And
Mhm.
I say, can I be successful in business and be successful in collecting? And
Yeah.
many people say, well, you can't because one takes away from the other. That's true.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'll look at somebody like Rusty, and Rusty, he does both. Now, granted,
Yeah.
he'll sell some things, and his PC will eventually one day be inventory, but he has a large collection that's just for him. Like he just enjoys it. He looks at it. He goes through and flips through the cards or the sheets or the whatever it may be, and he enjoys that. But he's also successful business.
Mhm.
Now, again, there's many factors to that. And when you started, how much you put in the beginning, like there's so many things that go into this, but um, can you navigate those two successfully? And I think you can. And what I tend to see is one, an imbalance because most people are on one side or the other and they don't
Yeah.
think they can coexist. And they're really good at the area of which they decided was their area of success and their area of focus. Um, and they execute that usually pretty well. But then there's few that say, I can do both and then succeed in both areas.
Yeah.
And you could even say the argument of, well, if you do both, then you can't be as good as so and so in business, or you can't be as big of a collector as so and so because now you're also doing the business and you're selling.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true. I think it's slower journey because obviously you can't chase two rabbits and catch them at the same time. But you can slowly walk towards 2 rabbits and have them come to you with a carrot.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And so, yeah,
I feel the same way. I honestly I find myself like I don't collect very much in Pokemon because a lot of the stuff in Pokemon that I like is like way more expensive than I feel comfortable holding, right? So like I don't end up collecting a lot in Pokemon, but I end up collecting stuff that I think is cool, like whether it's a card from an anime that I like or something like that, that's relatively worthless because nobody knows about it. It doesn't have any like secondary market value or anything like that. So there isn't really that worry of like, oh man, I'm hanging up a couple $100 in this card, and if I sold it, I could do X, Y, and Z with it. It's like, no, this card's in a PSA 10, but nobody knows about it. It's basically worthless, but I think it's cool for what it is, and that's the stuff that I end up collecting instead of the stuff that actually is monetarily valuable.
yeah, and it's a strange dynamic because when you look at the monetary value of your collectible item, you've already assigned a perspective to it,
Like a
right?
different value. There's like a
Right.
personal value and then a monetary value.
When you say, "Oh well, this is worth $12,000," I can't possibly because if I do this, then I can sell it and I can flip it and I can. Well,
Yeah.
then you get into this mindset of, well, then it's not good for the business for me to hold this, and that's true. But it depends on your financial position. Like
Mhm.
if you're making payroll, you're paying operations, you're growing, you have inventory, you haven't, let's just say, you haven't maximized the inventory you have. You have, I'm just making up numbers. You have $10,000 worth of cars you haven't even went through yet. And yet you
Yeah.
say, well, I got to sell this $5,000 Pikachu poncho. Well, do you? Or do you just need to do work? So that's the difference. Like, and this is one of the
Yeah.
things that somebody came to me one day and said, when I was early on starting, and said, "Hey, if you need help, let me know, and I can help you with some product or give you some things." I'm like, "Look, I really appreciate the offer, but the things I haven't maximized. Like I haven't taken full advantage of the gift I've already been given, and I don't have the right to ask for more because I didn't do my job yet. So I need to work on what I already have, and when I'm done with that, okay, fine. And I'm in trouble, okay, I would ask for help, but
Yeah.
I haven't maximized my gift. So with that being said, do I need to sell my Lugia collection that I love so much, or do I just need to work harder?
Yeah.
I found that if I work harder, I don't need to actually sell anything.
I wonder if there's a tipping point with most people because I feel like the more successful I guess with my business side of it, the more I want to collect later
Right.
because I feel like maybe I'm seeing some things and I think, man, that stuff is way undervalued, and I'm thinking from a value perspective.
Yeah.
But I think with more disposable income and feeling more secure with the business,
Right.
you can start thinking about holding on to some things because you
It's
just like them.
most of the future. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's definitely happened to me over the past year. Um, I just didn't have the ability. Like I couldn't make payroll and pay operations and then say I don't have to worry for next month. Like I couldn't do it. Like I was in a struggle every month. But now I'm very fortunate that I can say, well, hey, you know what? I really like this one card. I'm gonna buy a few copies and just set it aside because I think this is a really cool card, and I don't have any. I think it's gonna do really well.
Yeah.
One of those examples I mentioned it, I think in Chicago was the secret rare Pikachu from Crown Zenith.
Mm, yeah.
Like that's such a cool card. Like it looks great. Texture is awesome. It's a showcase of Pikachu and everything that Sword and Shield stood for.
Hmm.
And it's just, and it's the last set of the series. Are you kidding me? It's the only secret rare of the set. Sign me up. Like
Yeah.
I'm there. So I bought some and I'll just hold on to them. I bought them at like $3 a piece. Great. Like, and then now I can do that. And I can do that like maybe 10, 15 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. It only becomes when you can say, well, I can tie up my capital and be okay. That's the question. Can you say I'm putting $1,000 away and I don't expect any return?
Yeah.
Then if you can, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll hop into a couple questions here that we have in the chat. Lots of questions in the chat. So we'll
Good, good.
The first one, wonder how does it feel to be on the other side of the table? He's been on other podcasts. This isn't the first time that he's been a guest on someone else's show, but
Uh, to be very frank and very honest, it's relieving.
yeah,
Because and I think you and Chef talked about it even as well on your last podcast with him. And um, I'm not a social person.
mm,
And so social events like Chicago, for example, I love everybody there. Everybody there is just great people. I couldn't be happier spending time with them. But it takes a lot of energy from me as a
yeah,
person. Like that, it takes me a while to recover. Um, and the same thing with my podcast because of what I have to put into it. Like it takes me 2 to 3 weeks to really feel rejuvenated and feel like where I was before. So coming into another person's podcast and not have to prepare, not have to do the research and have to worry about delivering on certain things that I feel like I want to do from my podcast. It's a relief. And to do it with great people like Java, I'm just thankful to be here and I appreciate the consideration.
yeah, of course. What do you miss most about corporate world? Assuming you've not gone back.
And I have not gone back. You know, I'll answer the opposite. I take my kids, and I'll answer your question as well. But I take my kids to school every morning, which crosses the interstate, and I look to left and right of me, and I see the line of people sitting there, just red lights, nobody's moving. I'm like, all right, all right, I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Not doing
That's
that
so
anymore.
that's so nice. That's so nice. Um, you know, uh, Josh, what I really miss most is security of what that provides. But I want to caveat that is I was there for 22 years. And this is for all of you who've worked a corporate job. I'm 43. So I did that for the majority of my adult life. Um, that security is a false sense of security. And I'm not saying quit your job. I'm not saying your company's a scam or anything like that. But what I am saying is when you work in a large company, you're a number.
Mm,
In my case, I've been there long enough that I had seniority. I had a lot of perks. I was making probably more than some. And like, hey, look, if we're going to cut payroll, we want to save a lot of money. Let's go with this group of people, and we'll just outsource it. Well, what's the impact? Well, we don't know, but it doesn't matter. The spreadsheet doesn't show impact. The spreadsheet shows
yeah,
numbers. So you're a number. And in that perspective, this thing that we think is security in the corporate world is really a joke. And this past 2 years, leading into where I'm at now, but the year leading into it, I knew something didn't feel right, and I wasn't. I was at unease, if you will, with my corporate job. And as things started to unfold, and it took me a little while to process what happened because I had been there almost my whole life, and I was like, "This is weird. Like, what do I do now?
yeah,
What do you mean I'm not in corporate? I'm not going to have 10 meetings a day and waste all my time driving an hour back and forth in traffic and travel, 30% of my time to overseas. Like, I don't have to do that anymore. Like, what are you talking about?" And I'm still adjusting, to be honest, but I definitely come a long way. And I, I, I do see that the biggest opportunity for us, because and almost now we're off just slightly to be very transparent, but within a year, and I would say a year and a half, if I give myself a little more time, I will have replaced what I've created in 22 years in a year and a half on my own. And
that's
that's
awesome.
salary, that's benefits, that's 401k, that's everything that I was doing within about a year and a half, say two, just to be rounded up. I've replaced that in 2 years. 22 years, I've replaced it in two. And then the question is, okay, what's the upper bounds of that? Well, it depends. How hard do you want to work? How hard do
Yeah,
you want to grow? Like, what's your vision? Here in the corporate world, you're limited. Like, you can't go but so far. It's red tape this, red tape that. Oh, you have to talk to so and so, and oh, they're jealous because you're going to take their position, and it's now, Greenie, I miss nothing. Miss nothing. I'm thankful every day I'm right here, right where I'm at. Even though I'm not where I used to be, I'm thankful where I'm at.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't change anything for the world.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think one of the fears that I've always had of full time is the security of like
Mm.
not necessarily the kind of the guaranteed expected paycheck that you're going to get if you
Right.
stay, you know exactly what you're going to get paid. You can plan based on
Right.
those numbers and all that stuff, and then benefits like medical and all that and everything that's
Yeah.
provided, like all of that is very it's very nice to not have to think about those things, not have to put effort into figuring out how to replace those things. And
Right.
but you also are a number
You're
to
capped.
people.
You're
Yeah.
capped. Like, okay, let's just say you make $200,000 a year in your job. Okay, that's great. Like that's a big number, and for some people that's massive, and some people that's nothing. It just depends on who you are and your perspective. But what if it's 500? What if it's 1 million? What if it's 10 million? What's the upper bounds? Like in your corporate job, you're not making 10 million. Not happening. Like, like sorry, you're not the CEO, and even the CEO doesn't make that.
Yeah.
So when I was offered the CIO position and I had to move to Spain to take it, and I saw what they were offering, like, there's no way. There's no way I'm going to take this job. I'm not interested. No, thank you. And so
Yeah.
after turning down several jobs, maybe that's why I got fired. But um, I was like, this isn't worth it. Like my family is more important. I don't want to travel 80% of the time. It's an incremental increase to what I'm already making. Why would I leave to go to a whole nother country and uproot my family and my kids and the schools? And like, no, it makes no sense. And even if people at the C-suite was within a range, obviously not talking about the top of the top. I'm not talking about Apple or Google or some other company like that. But if we're in the range of even 100%, it's not worth it. Like I'd rather create that on my own.
Yeah.
And that's I think what I'm trying to do now.
Yeah. As someone who doesn't do collecticons, well, not anymore.
Charlotte.
You've done well. You haven't
Chicago.
vended Charlotte, right? But you
Right,
helped
correct.
vend in Chicago, so it
Right.
was you've gotten the experience at this point.
Yeah.
Do you feel any FOMO in that sense, or like it's an aspect of the business that could be missing? So I guess we could talk about vending in general. Do you feel like
Mhm.
vending local shows or vending collecticons or vending in general is an aspect of the business that you'd either like to do, or do you think it would take too much time and take away from what you're working on now?
I spoke to Chef about this. I spoke to my wife about it as I came back, and I really sat on the plane, minus reading the book, by the way, Red Light, Green Light. Good book. Matthew McConaughey. I don't know if you've seen it before.
Oh no. Okay.
Green Lights. Yeah, Green Lights. I'm sorry. But he talks about red light, green lights in the book. So other than reading the book on the trip, which was kind of ironic, I thought I went there with one purpose in terms of the vending perspective. There's many other reasons I went to spend time with great people and great friends and get to see some great people for the first time. But in the terms of the vending, I wanted to understand. And one of the things for me is I need to see what happens behind the scenes. How does it work? What do you do? What's the problems? What do you face? Is this scalable? What would I have to do this every month? Or in local shows, maybe every couple of weeks. And so in doing that, now I had a very limited experience, to be fully transparent. So it's not like I've done 50 of these things. So I obviously could have a lot to learn, and I don't discount that. But I think it's 100% a critical part of any business that wants to strive today. I don't think I'll be the person doing it, but it will be a part of the business that I have going forward. And I want to be there. And for me, my vision will be that I'll have multiple tables, with a buy section with somebody dedicated to buying 100% of the time.
Yeah.
And that table is only for buying and pricing, of which we'll provide special software solutions we'll talk about in the future. And then we have a sell section with multiple tables, and then I'll have somebody behind the scenes that will be taken in and highly, at the high level, organizing the inventory that's coming in, and where needed, repricing and putting things right back on the sale table that need to move quickly. Other things going back into live events, website, eBay, whatever it may be. So they'll have criteria. So I'll basically have about a 3 to 4 person team that handles the vending shows. That's what I would like to create.
Yeah, that's exactly where I sold a bunch of singles to a vendor on Sunday, and it was the vendors that were actually right next to us on the one
Yeah.
side, but it was very similar setup. It sounds like to what they were doing, which on the far end they had a table, they had a big sign buying, they had a little chair in front of it where you sat down and you put your cards out, and they comped them or priced them, and then there was 2 or 3 people that were kind of manning all the cases and everything for sale. And yeah, it seemed like a pretty solid operation if you could bring in cards immediate, at 70% or 75%, and you could put them immediately out for 100 and turn just right at the show.
Right.
Yeah.
Why not? And if we even take a learning perspective from Mason, shout out to Mason at Cardinal Game. And when he was here in Charlotte last year, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it was the year before. The year he had a breakdown in his van. Like his setup was very, I'm paying very close attention to a lot of these things. Like his setup is very nice. Now it wasn't like closed wall, but it was like racked walls with stuffies and video games. And like he had basically a mini walk-in store.
Yeah.
I want to have that. So if you've seen those cases that are like not necessarily a straight L shape, but it's like a slanted shape. So you have basically mainly for like in-store events, but you have like basically a straight side, and then you have a side that's kind of slanted at the bottom.
Yeah, so they're very popular in Japan for
exactly.
singles and
exactly
slabs.
Those cases. That's what should be lining the walls for me. And so you basically have that lined out on the walls where it makes sense for singles, and I think graded cards fit in there, not necessarily for sealed. And then you have some other sections for things like sealed or plushies or whatever. So you have this kind of walk-in store with the buy section, with somebody managing and taking an inventory and organizing it, and then divvying up where it should go to the next events. That's exactly what every large business should have, in my opinion.
Yeah. I find the vending experience, especially local shows, to just be fun. There's so many more kids, there's so many more collectors, there's so many people that are just excited to be there and getting a card, and you kind of know that your card that you're selling to this person, that's probably the end collector. Like they might sell it someday, but it's going in their collection. It's not going up on Whatnot the next day, which there's no problem with that either, but it feels a little less genuine. When you're doing that instead of selling to the end collector, for sure.
And that was one of the funnest parts, was for sure. Like I'm talking to these people at the Collecticon, and they're sitting there. This guy walked up. He had 2 kids, one of which was small enough he had to hold. The other one was barely walking. And he came up and he saw the Magic Carp. And I think it was maybe yours or Spat's. I'm not sure whose it was. Yours?
I think so.
So I was helping him sell it, like helping you sell it. And he's talking about it, and I really wanted this card. And so I was kind of like pitching the benefits and the pros and the cons. I'm like, this is it. And he's like, well, you know what? I'll take it. And this was his first Collecticon. This was the first like purchase of the day. Like it was going in his PC, and he handed it to his kids, and his kids looked at it. And I'm thinking, oh God, don't drop it. She was like a 2-year-old. Please don't drop it. But they all enjoyed it, and he put it back in his satchel, and they went about their way. And that for him was a very special moment. That was like really cool. I enjoyed that aspect of it, but there's a lot of it that I just couldn't do daily. Like I couldn't do it like every week.
Yep. Well, I'm gonna jump down quick, and I'm gonna thank Ern. Thank you very much for the 20 memberships.
Thank you, Ernie.
I really appreciate that. Our conversation last night, I believe, was very awesome. So thank you for participating in this as well. All right, let's see. So, from your interviews, what is the one thing you've taken away from a conversation that has had the largest impact on your business?
Um, Not being afraid to take risk.
Mm,
Especially, coming from our past conversations on the corporate world. Um, we as humans, we want to have stability, we want to have comfort, we want to have security, and we want to know what's going to happen in the future. When the reality is, everything you think you know is just a guess, and if it happens, great. Most of the time, it may not happen, and that's just life. And in Pokemon, I said, well, I want to buy this collection for maybe it's $5,000 or it's $2,000 or it's $10,000, whatever that number is for you that you feel comfortable with. But those first couple of buys is like, well, that's really scary. Like, should I buy this? I'm
mm,
not sure if these cards fake. Is this guy gonna scam me? Especially if it's on eBay and you get to see him in person. But being willing to take that risk, and I even remember the first times that people did returns or said they didn't receive the card, or I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like how am I going to handle this? Like it's my first, customer complaint. What do I do? And you have to just move forward. And the reality is, over time, those things seem so small in the rearview mirror. Like, oh yeah, that first return, the person that didn't like their slab and wanted to complain and give me a bad review, or the collection that was partially fake and I need to go back to eBay and get a refund. All that stuff works out. And especially when you do it in numbers and you do it in mass,
mm.
it means nothing at the end of the day. Okay, the guy didn't like it and he canceled his order. Okay, so what? It doesn't matter. But it only matters when you are moving forward so consistently that a small incremental change doesn't matter. And I think one of the things we get lost on is we give more power to that one negative thing and not the 99 positive things that are surrounding it. So one of the things I ask myself when I have a customer that's disgruntled or upset or maybe misunderstands, this one guy said, you sold me a fake PSA slab. And he made a comment and left a review. And I was literally puzzled. Like, what is he talking about? Like, I graded this card myself.
Yeah.
I got it from PSA. Like, what are you talking about? And it was like a $30 card. Like, who's going to fake a $30 card?
Yeah.
And I reached out to him, and it took me 2 days, but I did it, and I talked to him, and he just didn't know what to look for. He didn't understand. So, here's how you look for authentic PSA slabs. Here's some things you should see. Now you're looking for this, but that's on an older PSA slab. They changed the labels. It looks like this now. Please get a light, or a black light and shine it this way, and you can see these things. And then he came back and he apologized and he changed his review. And I was happy to spend some time with him. Not obviously I didn't spend 24 or 48 hours, but over the course of 2 days, maybe 1.5 hours.
Hmm.
But all that disappears. And so doing the right thing and it all just moves away in the past in the rearview mirror. But you got to take the risk because you won't get any reward if you don't take any risk. You got to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Risk is, I have gotten to the point where I am able to take more risk because I have more expendable
Security.
money
Yeah.
with, and I can take a lot more risk with Pokemon because I have my full-time job that I utilize for my
Right.
living situation and all of that. And so, but there's some risk that going full time, store, that type of
Right.
stuff. It's like, oh man, that is,
It's scary. It's
yeah,
scary.
that it's difficult to get over the hurdle of being okay with it. And you're probably never going to be okay with it. Sometimes you just got to do it. And if you fail at it, it's okay.
Well,
Um,
you probably felt that way about this 30 days of 30, right? I mean, like you probably said, well, that's a lot. I don't know if I should do that. And you start and like, I don't only have like 10 people scheduled. Like,
yeah.
how do I get the rest of the 20? And there's a great quote around this, and I'm paraphrasing. It says that if you find yourself being comfortable, you're not growing.
Mm.
You're essentially dying, because if you're not growing, you're dying. So if you don't feel uncomfortable on a daily basis, you've stopped pushing yourself.
Yeah.
And we should do that. And it goes back to risk, and no, obviously not unnecessary risk, or not risk that put yourself at physical harm, but the risk that makes sure you're growing every day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how much risk I'm willing to take with Pokemon stuff and how little risk I'm willing to take with like personal stuff.
Yeah.
It's like I have zero risk tolerance when it comes to personal things. With Pokemon, it's like, oh, spend $1,000 on some cards today. All right.
Sure. But look back, whatever your beginning was for you, like spending $100 was like, oh
Yeah.
should I spend $100 on these 2 cards? Now it's like, oh yeah, $5,000. Okay, fine.
Yeah. 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 I mean, but that's just like little risks, little risk, little
Yeah.
risk. And they just get bigger as you get more confident and in your ability to do things. And yeah. Yep. Talked about doing a lot of bulk in your business. Do you
Yeah.
say many differences? Do you see many differences in
Yeah,
trends
see, yeah.
you'd otherwise have overlooked if you were not touching bulk? Now
Oh, yeah.
I have to read Benji's questions verbatim or else he'll yell at me for getting it wrong. So I'm doing my best, all right?
And I'm terrible about spelling things correctly. Like one of the key things for me is I misspell something because I'm typing quickly and I hit send. I'm like, oh man. And so it's always like, yeah, or I do like a voice to text, and it just never works out.
Yeah.
So yeah, Benji, we shipped 1 million cards last year in terms of singles, which for us was a huge milestone. And again, thanks to all the customers and people. One of the things I do a meditation. I've talked about it many times, but I do a meditation in the morning, and not to go through that in detail, but one of the things I do in that is I say thank you to the people who are my customers that trust me with their money, that they work so hard for, and they don't know me. Like they don't know that I'm going to deliver on this product. And it may be 1 card, it may be 150 cards, but they trust me and they worked hard for their money. And I really appreciate that. So we shipped more than 1 million last year. And the majority of our business is between graded cards and bulk. So did I see any differences in trends? So, and this, Benji, because I think you've recently opened a store, by the way. Congratulations. Very happy for you. Singles focuses on 2 main areas for me. It's going to be collectors and players. So when I'm selling singles, that's really it. Things fly off the shelves depending on what deck is in queue. And those things don't transpose to, well, I need to grade this Iono card that's a non-hollow and very playable. Like, no, you don't grade that card. So these are like 2 different worlds. Now there's sometimes a overlap because there's a nice SAR of the same card that's also playable in the deck, but it's a minority of the case. And I think for me, I have to keep my pulse on what's happening in TCG, which is why I also still love to play, even before I had the side of the singles business at the scale we do today. But seeing what's actually playable, see what's in the tournament, see what won the last regionals or last worlds, or like that drives so much of my singles market. And for me, like when I'm sitting here and I still have like this section here, for example, one of the many that's not visible on camera, but I haven't put that in inventory yet. So all these Fiverr boxes are sorted by set, but I may say, oh, hey, this boss's orders is something I need to go grab. So here's the set. Let me go grab as many of those as I can, get those out there to the players. One of the things we did as well, when we talk about even distribution, and people say, oh, we got these crappy battle decks. And it's like, okay, well, we got hundreds of the Charizard EX decks. But those decks broken down, now you have a really cool split between 2 worlds. A nice looking Charizard EX can be gradable. Most of those were not, because they were like 3 or 4 deep. So like there was like a dent indentation on all of them. But every other card broken down in that set was sellable. It was playable, and I'm still selling them. Like I have hundreds of Ionos and Arvins and so many cards that people need in their decks, and we're listing them every single day. And so I keep that hand and kind of finger on the pulse of what's happening in that market and make sure those singles are available for the hottest decks. And then I supplement that with, well, now what sets for me are running low? Okay, well, people bought a lot of Crown Zenith or 151. Let me go fill that back up so my inventory is there, and I'll pull from here and put it into the inventory, for example. And then as I'm going through that, if there's really cool cards to grade or really cool cards that are, out there for something else, then I'll obviously pull those aside and grade them. But I don't have a lot of time in that regard. So many times a question comes up around, oh, well, if somebody grades the card, then whatever they're selling has already been picked through. Like, I need you guys to understand, like, I don't have that much time. Like, I may grab a couple, but I don't have enough time to sit there and inspect 900 cards and pick every single one out that's going to be gradable. I'll pick a few, I'll set them aside. The rest, you guys may get very good cards. You may get a card that's LP, but I'll list it accordingly, and good luck if you're buying 20 at a time to grade them, because people were, for example, were buying the Mr. Mime from the Classic Collection recently. We had like 400 of them. And sure, they're buying 20 at a time because that's how I have my listing rules set, because it only lists 20 at a time. So I don't get like buyouts for all of them, and then I don't have a chance to move with the market.
Yeah.
And I realized it like 200 in. I'm like, I haven't even looked at this card yet. Like, I may have sold all the ones that were gradable, and I just haven't had time to look. So let me look at what's left and see if there's a few. But I had two that I picked out, and the rest I sold. So it just depends on the scale of where you are. Sometimes it just doesn't make sense to sit there and look through them all. Just sell it because it's about moving product.
Yeah. I haven't. I've thought, because I have a lot of Japanese like ultra rare cards sitting around, like V Stars, V Maxes, Vs, like all that type of kind of like bulky stuff. And I've thought about trying to post more on eBay of just doing like the stock image and saying I have 10 of them and near mint and whatever, and seeing how that goes. And I'll have to give it a try at some point. I'm swimming in graded cards right now, so I gotta find some time.
And that's just it. Like, even going back to the podcast, like, I've been so consumed with the business, thankfully. Like, I'm deeply grateful that that's been my consumption of time. I don't have time I haven't posted a video in like 3 weeks, 2 weeks. I forget how long it's been, but not a single Instagram, nothing. Like, I just don't have time. Like, my day is consumed. And then I want to spend time with the family. I want to sit down. Like, I hadn't even been able to play a game of Yahtzee or whatever we're going to do at nighttime. Like, I haven't had time to do that yet. So, it's just about time. I fully understand.
Yeah. Yep. Greeny's wondering if you have any Pokemon regional tournaments planned with the family.
So I will try to play in a couple of tournaments this year. Nothing concrete. I don't have like a ticket locked in. My son's one's just a little too young to enjoy it fully. He's 6. And he hasn't learned to be a good loser yet. So we just experienced that yesterday. So there's still some emotional growth to do there. My older son may actually play with me, and I don't know. My wife she kind of likes to play and beat me, and tout the crown over my head, but then she maybe when I want to do it publicly, so I'm not sure. But maybe me and my older son will do it this year, because he was like, "Dad, can we go to some local tournaments?" And yeah, but we can do that, buddy. So I think we're gonna play a couple of locals, and we'll probably try to do it regional.
It's really cool that the whole family's into it. I really like that. Yeah. That's it probably makes it a lot easier to be able to talk about it with your wife, be able to talk about it with your kids, and not just sitting there alone with no one who understands what you're doing.
Dad, when's the new set coming out? And then when I got the set, like, Dad, are we not going to open the set? Like what are we doing? Like, calm down. Turn it together. It's like $300 a box, son. Just relax.
Yeah. Yep. Have you had a moment in particular in the hobby where you felt overwhelmed or even had thought of leaving?
Yeah, a lot. in all transparency, like I don't want to hide anything. Probably every 2 weeks, I feel overwhelmed, and I'm like,
Mm.
can I keep doing this? Like, is this real? Like, one is it's a reality check. Am I really doing this? This next month will look okay. Is everything working out? And we're now. I may be slightly wrong here, but I think we're 9 months in, 8 months in to running payroll with me and a part-time employee. The part-time employee is now 6 months. So me 2 months and then them 6. And every couple of weeks I'm like, I don't know if we can make it. And it's not because I don't see the money coming in, it's just because of the amount of things. Like, to your point, like, I'm swimming in graded cards. I got more singles than I can possibly process. I got more uninventoried. We have more than a million in inventory, and I have probably 2 to 3 million that I haven't even inventoried yet. And then I got slabs, and we sell everything. We sell dice, we sell sleeves, we sell pins, we sell binders, we sell the mini portfolios. We all of it. It's all there. And so, like, my problem is listing things. Like, can I get everything listed before the next wave comes in? And the answer is always no. So then I have to prioritize. Like, okay, what am I going to list this week? For example, the past 2 weeks have been, I need to get all my sheets listed. And ironically, this month has blown up, and I've sold uncut sheets through the roof more than any other month. It's like, okay, let me finish those, and then I'll move to whatever the next best item that needs my attention. But it's kind of really funny too, because I have to keep enough in the store that brings people in, because that encourages more purchase. Because we have our Shopify, TCG Player, and eBay, all of which are integrated. And so if I don't keep playable cards in, the players don't come to the store to buy and also order, oh yeah, these other 10 Crown Zenith cards that I needed for my collection. Oh, I didn't know that you sold graded cards. Let me buy these 3 graded cards from you, and I need like some sleeves. I need a 10-pack of sleeves. They don't do that if I don't have the Arbans that draw them in. So like I have this weird balance of, like, yes, I have to spend time inventorying a $2 card when I have a $10,000 sheet, but it's for a reason, because I'm not going to sell the other hundreds and thousands of dollars of product if I don't spend time to get them in the door, because they need the playable cards that draw them to the store. So it's this really interesting balance of making sure that I'm keeping people coming in with whatever their immediate need is, and then they discover the things they need along the way.
Yeah.
But I think about leaving a lot. So I'm like, because it's the fear. I should just go back to my normal job. It's so much easier. I don't need to worry about all this. I'm clearly working far more hours now than I ever did. That's obvious. Anytime anybody owns their own business, like, you're always working more. And so I think that's so much easier. But then I remind myself that I would lose all my freedom. I lose my ability to move beyond the corporate world cap that I already had on myself. What happens in the next pandemic? Here I'm okay. And then granted, sales may drop because pandemic and people don't spend, but I'm in control of myself, and I have my control of my future. I'm not held up to whatever happens in corporate decisions in HR and the health department. So I don't have to worry about that.
So you mentioned on your stores, the 3 different stores that you list on, and all of it's integrated together. You said you use Binder POS, which I assume is the software that does that, or
in part. So Binder is broken in so many ways. So Binder POS, its main goal is now, because they've backed out of their eBay integration, despite the fact that they're owned by eBay. So they no longer integrate with eBay, according to the CEO. So they told us how to pull back from them. So Binder, you have to have Shopify to use Binder. That's step 1.
Okay.
Once you have Shopify, which means you have your own store, now you don't have to publicly list the store. They just need Binder in order to integrate how they manage the cards.
Mhm.
So you can still say, I have Shopify, but I don't have my own website. You could do that if you wanted to, but they need Shopify. Now, the binder is only good for the fact that it helps you manage singles and it manages the price updates on market price every 12 hours. So I pay $100 a month for a binder as a base fee, and then they charge you, I think it's 2% or slightly less for anything you sell now on TCG Player.
Okay.
So they add an extra fee on top of the TCG Player fee. But they manage all the prices. And now that I have the price and the image on my Shopify store, I now use the Shopify created Marketplace Connect, which is another integration app that goes from Shopify to eBay. So now, whatever I have in my Shopify store, I'm pushing over to eBay via Marketplace Connect, which is another $99. That one's capped out. They don't charge you per transaction. It's just $99 a month over, I think, 1,000 transactions. So, yes, please. I'll give you $99 a month, and you create all my listings. We leverage the fact that Binder has updated prices on all singles, and Binder also gives us all stock images for all singles. So I don't have to manage that.
Yeah.
So now I pay $200 for 2 platforms to integrate with my Shopify, and I'm selling in 3 places. Technically more than that, because Shopify then lets you connect to TikTok, Shop, Facebook, Google. Like, all those things are already done for me. I don't need to do anything. I just kind of connect it, sync my products up, make sure I meet all the requirements, which did take some time, to be honest, but that was fine. So I'm actually in like 10 different stores, but it's all through Shopify. And every single is listed, to your point, with a stock image. Now, all graded cards, I just use a stock image from CGC or PSA. I don't do anything other than that.
Yeah.
And then all sealed also is done through Binder. So all sealed products have stock images, but they don't manage price. So you have to do that manually.
How do you? So I know I had Skya, that one guy.
Yep.
He
That's
manages
for Dan.
Catch 'em All collectible Dan's eBay and TCG Player and stuff. And when I talked to him, he said that there was an app that he was using, I think, for eBay and TCG Player. But the problem that he was having was one of them wasn't refreshing as often as the other. So if he sold out on something on eBay, it wouldn't refresh as fast on TCG Player. So he could end up double selling.
Right.
Is that something you run into with the refreshes, or is it pretty much instant with
No.
the way you're doing it?
With the way I've set this up in the 2 different systems that are integrating, from Shopify with Marketplace Connect to eBay and Shopify Binder to TCG Player, it's almost instant. And I've never double sold anything, not once.
Nice.
So no, I've never had the issue with that, and because they prioritize sales in terms of like synchronization priorities. So as you sell something, it's like they want to get that to you as quickly as possible. So by the time I hear a ding on my eBay, I hear the ding on my social media, on my Shopify, and vice versa on Binder side. So
Okay.
it's all very immediate, and I've never had a problem.
Interesting. Yeah, that's awesome. We got a question from Greeny. Both y'all, where do you want your Pokemon business side hustle to be in 2 years?
You first, Java.
Oh man. 2 years. Let's see. Where would I want it to be? I mean, I kind of like where it's at the moment with what I'm doing. I think there are some things that I could do to improve it or to move through a lot of the stuff that I currently have that's kind of sitting around. Obviously, it's nice to sell a lot of singles through Chef, and hopefully he continues to grow his live streaming side of things, which would only then benefit me, which would be great. And eventually, I would like to put more time into posting singles, like I kind of talked about on eBay, some of the bulkish near mint type of stuff that I have. for lower value stuff just to move that stuff and get it out, and then generate some income that way. And then who knows, maybe a storefront at some point. Maybe that would be kind of cool. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see if that happens. But yeah, what about you?
Very high level, and I'm happy to dive into it anywhere you want to. But in 2 years, I will have a warehouse, I will have a storefront, I will have an ice cream truck, and I will operate in every facet of vending, streaming, online that we have. So I'll be in all those spaces in 2 years.
Where does the ice cream truck come in? That was kind of just thrown in there. I'll have a warehouse for my cards. I'll have a storefront for my cards. I'll have an ice cream truck.
Hey,
Wait a
man,
minute. What?
I love ice cream.
Okay.
Vanilla bean ice cream. I'm kidding. No, it's something I mentioned, I think, in a different podcast. But one of the ways I wanted to get kickstarted for the storefront is because we have such a great place here, and I don't know that you've had time to kind of see the area, but one exit up Java is Birkdale is what they call it. Exit 25 off 77. And it is essentially like an outdoor mall. And in the middle of this big U shape, at the end is a movie theater. And the entire middle section, which is probably like a mile long, is like a grassy area that families play, and like they have things in there for kids. And so this entire section is then also set up to have a couple of vendors here and there throughout the summer season. So I want to park a truck there, or ice cream truck, and have a little pop-up selling stand for Pokemon cards. And that time is the perfect time. And then when I'm not there, I can drive through a couple of the really nice neighborhoods here and run a Pokemon song down the roads and have kids chase me down to buy Pokemon packs. I think that would just be awesome fun. Make great content as well if we wanted to do that and kind of double up. But I think it would be great for the store, and then that obviously would eventually feed us to have the physical presence. And
yeah, it's like a mobile vending unit.
Yeah. Even considered. I think I talked to somebody about having a deal even at Collecticon and parking outside of each of the Collecticons.
Oh yeah.
So
would you have actual ice cream as well, or just cards?
You have to have both.
Okay. Oh yeah, that's creative. I like it. That would be cool. That'd be cool. Man, we are behind. I'm like 40 minutes behind. All right, let's see. If you had the time, what would you do more of in the hobby?
If I had the time, I would honestly play as many tournaments as I could. That's for me as a hobby, because you use the word hobby, not a business. So I would be playing all the tournaments I could. I would love to travel. I would love to play in the world. That for me would be just so much fun. I love playing TCG. That's probably one of my favorite things about the whole Pokemon hobby as a whole, is playing TCG. But I just don't have time.
Yeah. Mine's not necessarily in the Pokemon hobby, although I would like to travel even more than I get to now to different events and stuff and be able to see people. And I'd like to go to Louisville or Kentucky someday and go see Mason's shop. I'd love to go and see Benji's shop. I'd love to go and see what all these people are putting together and experience all of that. I think would be fun. But I think travel is really the hobby that I like the most. I just love experiencing new cultures and going and eating food. And so I'd like to break from my Japan only ever going back to Japan and actually go to some other countries like Europe and maybe some other Asian countries and go just experience new things. So
if you get really good at TCG, you get to do all those things.
Yeah, true. Just travel around and
you can win or lose. You just gotta keep playing.
Top 3 podcast hosts you'd want to have that you haven't had on yet.
I haven't followed back up, but I do want to have Deep Pocket Monster on. I think he is a wealth of knowledge in and outside of Pokemon. He's a business connoisseur. He does his own podcast, educational series. Like, he does so many things. I would love to pick his brain. And if I get that opportunity, I hope we have several hours to try to do so. I want to get one of the top world championships winners on the podcast as well. I want to hear. I've been trying to get Raul and a few others
Mm.
that have been in the TCG space for a while that actively play, and I just want to talk to them and hear the details of what it means to prep and how do you keep up with things and how do you change between different rotations. And I just want to really understand, what does it mean to be on top in the TCG space. And then the other one is, I wanted to get some of the original, whether it be voice actors or whatnot, from the anime. So trying to talk to some of them, or perhaps one of the artists. And so just bring in a couple of different pieces. And all of these people I've been actually poking at for a year. And to your point, they're like, no, I'm good. But I keep trying because I would love to have the other perspective of the Pokemon hobby, or maybe even game designers, to hear what it means for them to create a different facet of what we all love today in Pokemon.
Yeah. All three of those would be really cool, and from different areas of.
Yeah.
I feel like we've heard not everything there is to hear about the Pokemon business, secondary kind of eBay business type of space,
Right.
but to hear from the creators or that type of stuff, that would be very cool.
I would love to hear from Veronica. I've been knocking on Veronica's door for a year and a half.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, she does a lot. I forget how many voices she does. I think it was like 20 plus over the years. But I mean, what a great story! Like, the history she has in the anime is things, and I don't know if she could share, but things that she's experienced in creating all these animes over the years that we've grown up with.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you not want to hear about that? Like, the number of questions I would have, she'd probably start charging me. Like,
maybe
like $300 an hour. Like, oh man, today's gonna be our shortest podcast ever.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think if I could do one of these chats with somebody, I think because our businesses are so similar, but he does it at such a insane level compared to where I'm at. I think it would be really fun to pick Pokemon Steven's brain.
I knew you were gonna say him.
It's probably never gonna happen.
He turned me down.
Yeah, he turned me down too.
Yeah.
It would be really cool though, because we're in similar business, but he's just at another level. It would be interesting to see like how he got there, where he started, how he got there, all that stuff. But
I agree. He said he wasn't good on camera, which I don't believe. So yeah, okay, no worries.
You're good on camera, Steven. Come on, I want to talk to you.
We love you, man.
Let's see. Pokemon opens a museum and asks you for one item to display. What are you putting up?
That's a good one. Shout out to Crystal. I'll put up my knitted baby Lugia Pokemon.
Oh, there you go. Nice. Heck yeah. Oh yeah. That is so cool. Yeah. I love that thing. That's awesome.
That I would put that up there because this is one of one. I could say that the trophy from 09, which is one of one for the Masters division, because that was only one, but this is more important to me.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think I have a couple of cards that I think a lot of people have probably never seen, but they're Smash Brothers cards from Nintendo magazine that came out in Europe, but they have
Mm,
Pokemon and Mewtwo or
that's cool.
Pikachu and Mewtwo and Pichu and stuff like that. And they're unique. I kind of found them. I haven't found any decks after buying all of the ones that were on eBay when I found them.
Ah.
I haven't seen them pop up, and I just think they're really cool. So,
Do you have one you can show me? I've never seen it.
yeah, one second, let me grab.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Yeah, FMA. I mean, this for me is just it's so cool, man. Yeah, I've said it a million times. I know you're tired of hearing it, but I love it.
This is one of the newer ones, 2005 from Melee, but it's like an action shot of Pikachu and
Oh,
Star
it's so
Fox is
cool.
like playing in the back.
2005, you said?
2005, yeah. And then
Oh,
I
it's
have
so cool.
some that are a little bit older.
How many years did they do that?
I don't know. They put out these Melee battle cards. 2005 might have been the latest one. I know there's like a 97 and a 90.
Okay,
The
so
other one
probably
I have
before.
is. Oh no, this one's for 2005 as well. What year is this? The other set I have is from 99.
Okay.
But so they have some older ones and then some
I love
newer.
that, man. I didn't know those existed. Those are really cool.
Yeah, I've been trying to pick up decks of all the years that they released, but I've only
Okay.
been able to find 2 of the years so far. So,
Okay.
and I check eBay just about once a week because I want them to pop up, but they just don't.
Not showing.
But yeah, that's a great question, Benji. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it, buddy.
Navi's wondering if singles are the biggest part of your business.
I was talking to Chef about this yesterday. Biggest means what? Financially, dollar wise, it's going to be slabs, slabs and sealed packs, boxes, those types of things, because they just have a higher dollar value. You can obviously sell one booster box or one case and make a ton of what would be thousands of orders for singles. But quantity wise, for sure, is singles. So but both of which I don't know. Obviously, there is sometimes a split to say that, okay, these people that are buying only for their decks, they're never going to buy a sealed Japanese box from me. That's okay. But a lot of times there is an overlap. They'll come in and buy a lot of playable cards. They'll buy 2 or 3 cards for their collection because it's clear that those are not playable. And then they'll buy like a slab. It's like, okay, like they came in, they found what they wanted, but then they discovered something else. So singles, quantity wise, and then value wise will be graded cards.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And that's probably about I would say you have 40% graded, and then another 30% would be singles, and the rest would be divvied up.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. Graded is definitely pretty much all I do. So it's definitely the biggest.
When that's all you list, it's 100% of the business.
Yeah, pretty much. Brad, how's it going? Wonder the GOAT,
You,
greatest of all
appreciate it,
time. This did not have a stop sign, Benji, but I caught it. Okay, so give me some props. Almost everyone in the business has had a moment where they felt like someone got one over on them or just got scammed. What was that moment for you, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I got it right here. Maybe I don't. So I had maybe I put it somewhere. Oh, I know where it is. I put my fake cards.
Where it belongs.
So I have a section of just like fake cards that I've gotten over the years, but one of which I keep as a reminder.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
Shiny
this was
Charizard.
a AGM 9 first edition Shining Charizard, and got it from, I forget, it was Australia or Austria or something like that. And the price wasn't like, oh, this is like so cheap. It's like nothing. It was like a fair price, but it was a good deal. And I was excited. Like oh, I can finally
And it's
own this
graded.
car. And it's graded. Like it's
Is it
got to
a
be real,
legitimate
right?
graded company? Like a well, I
It
mean, like
is.
yeah.
It is. But they cracked the slab. They basically,
Oh,
heated it
resealed it.
and then resealed the corners.
Gotcha.
But obviously the pictures didn't show that. So like
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. And the pictures that they had were legitimate pictures of the original card. So they basically bought the card,
Oh,
cracked it open, put in a fake, sealed the corners, the four corners, and then shipped that out to me.
yeah.
And I was excited. Like I thought, okay, I got a pretty good deal. Like I saved whatever, $300-400, and it's a card I've always wanted to have. I forget what it was. It was like, I'm guessing right now, but it was sub 2000, I think, roughly.
Yeah.
So okay, this was many years ago. So, okay, this is really good deal. I get it in, and it came really weird packaged. I was like, oh, well, I'll chalk it up to culture differences. That's fine. And so I set it aside, and I went downstairs, and I was excited. I was talking about it, and I said, something doesn't feel right. Let me go back upstairs. I went back upstairs, and I looked at it again. I'm like, oh no. And I started kind of holding it and looking at different angles. And let me look at another one in PSA. So I looked at another one in PSA, and I looked at the card I had, and I realized that the Fireball didn't have the texture. It was flat.
Mm.
Oh, man. And as I looked at the slab more, I'm like, what? Why is the corners like ever so slightly frosted? Just a little bit. And as I kind of manhandled the case a little bit, it actually started to separate very easily. I'm like, okay. So then I went through that whole thing. And anyways, I won't go into it, but what I learned was, I have to really temper my excitement. And much like we do in the corporate world, much like we do when we're having a difficult conversation, like we need to take our emotions out of it and make sure that you don't skip the basic things that you would have done any other time. Hey, is this a real card? Let me check the real one. I don't happen to have one here. Let me see. Let me check the patterns. Let me check the hollow. Let me check the whatever it may be. Let me check the seller. Like, let me look at the reviews. Like all the things you might do when you're spending $2,000. Why would you skip it any other time other than when you're excited, right? And you say, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna buy. And I fell into that early on. I'm like, okay. So I keep that as a reminder. I got my money back, thankfully. I wrote a very long letter. You can imagine, like my wonder writing a long ranty, letter to this guy. But at the end of the day, it was like, okay, I'm going to keep this as a reminder. I should never rush, and I should always make sure I don't skip my own security check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I similar situation. First time I got scammed buying something from Japan, it was the Mario and Luigi Pikachu full arts.
Oh no.
I did buy them for a stupid price. They were way too cheap. But I thought I was under the impression, just like everyone else is when they first go on those websites, is like everything's just dirt cheap over here, and
Right.
these cards are amazing, and I really want them, and it's so crazy, and then I think they might have used real photos. I don't remember. But yeah, when they came in, it's like so obvious that they were just printed out and cut. And, and it was thankfully
Yeah.
it was only a few $100s, I think, which at the time was a lot and it sucked.
It means a lot to you at that point. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I've been scammed a few times from Japan for different things, and you just now and next time you won't make the same mistake again.
Well,
So
and for me, and I don't know if you've had a big one, but if that would have ruined me in the beginning, eBay would have said, whatever, we're not
mm,
giving you money back. And the guy was like, no, this is a real card. And I'm stuck. Like I may
yeah,
have not been able to continue financially. I'm like, okay, well, I'm out. Like I've lost everything that I can. I can't lose anymore. I'm in the hole. I got to
yeah,
step away. So that may have been a turning point for me. But eBay helped me out.
yeah,
So
yeah. My biggest loss, thankfully, came fairly recently, so it wasn't that big of a. It was like $1,300 or something.
Okay.
So I haven't had any like, I mean that is a lot, but I haven't had any like game changing
Right. Make you
business.
step away from the hobby. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will
Thankfully.
let me say this as an end is since that day, and even then I was doing it, but I made it very religious from there on out. I record every package I open.
Mm.
Everything I open, whether it's a return, it's a product I ordered, I do it and I don't post any of it, but I do it as if I'm recording for YouTube. I have like split screen, I have my video, I have top down view, I share screen, like I do all that stuff, and I record everything so that it's on screen. I look about how does the package look? Has it been resealed? Is it damaged? Is it dented? And then I open it up and make sure the contents are what they're supposed to be. And that saved me. Like eBay's when I show the eBay all that information, there's no dispute. Like they're like, oh yeah, okay, whatever,
Yeah.
we'll give you money back. Yeah. So record your stuff, guys.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Have you considered selling already constructed decks of the most recent tournament winners?
I have, and I didn't stumble on it until today, and perhaps I'm just behind. But TCG players started having a decks section
Oh,
on their website, which is
nice.
what an idea that I had as well.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to have pre-made decks of cards that are already ready to go, that are kind of the most meta, if you will, of what people are playing. And then of course have like advanced versions of that. So now you get the gold, version of whatever, Ultra Ball or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it was kind of cool to see how how TCG Player did it. They basically click on deck section and then you get to pick whatever deck you want and you just buy it. And it shows you all the listings, kind of like Limitless TCG does. Kind of look through them real quick. And it gives you like a total price of the deck cost. So yeah, I will be doing that because I think it's a great feature. It's a great way to bring in players and have an easy one-click buy. I want to start with Charizard EX. Let's go. Boom, $74. Done. Like I don't need to spend 30 minutes finding the cards. It's awesome.
Welcome back, Chef.
Yeah, man.
Let's see. We kind of talked about burnout a little bit earlier. What is Wonder's favorite modern cards and favorite vintage cards?
Ooh. My favorite vintage card will be the Crystal Lugia. Because I've never owned it. I've always wanted it. It's one of my absolute favorite cards. My favorite modern card. I'm a big Lugia fan, guys. So if you don't know, that's my thing. So I'm gonna have to go with the Silver Tempest Lugia. Beautiful card, hanging over the ocean, about to attack the man in the boat. Very like shining Gyarados feel to it. I think those two give me both my Lugia touch and feel, but both modern and vintage. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, my favorite vintage card is Dark Charmeleon. I really want to get the W stamp of that in like a clean. Doesn't have to be graded or anything, but like a clean front W stamp. I saw one at Collecticon, but it was beat. It was bad. It was really beat up. But that's a pretty expensive card too. I was looking at PSA 9s and I was like, dang, it's like $500.
$500. Wow. Okay.
Somewhere in there, I think.
If I come across one raw, I'll save it for you.
Yeah, I will definitely pick it up. And my favorite modern card, I feel like I answered this recently. I'm obviously a big Charizard person, but I don't really feel like the modern Charizards, at least from Scarlet and Violet, have really wowed me like
Brilliant
in previous
Stars?
generations. Sorry?
Brilliant Stars?
The Brilliant Star Charizard is nice. I do like that one. I think actually I like the Umbreon V a lot from Evolving Skies. The V alternate art, the one where he's sitting on the ledge and all the other dark Pokemon are sitting there and he's like kind of the king of the city. Yeah, that one's a really cool one. I like that one a lot.
I like the Umbreon V Max as well, where he's sitting with the trainer, Korean or Korean, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
That one's really, people don't like that one, but I think that was a really cool card.
Yeah.
I don't know why people don't like that one. It's awesome.
Yeah, that one's good too.
Korean, whatever her name is.
What's up, Spat?
What's up, Spat? Good to see you, buddy.
Okay,
Spat's
this sounds
one of
like
my good friends. I've now got to meet in person in Chicago, so I look forward to Spat.
Yeah, Spat's awesome.
Yeah,
I love hanging out with him. Sounds like there's a couple stories I need to hear in this question. Question for wonder from Brad: what was more memorable, the old man that almost hit us with his car, or the two dudes trying to punch out the guy's window in traffic? What the heck? This
summarizes my trip to Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
So we almost got killed on the way to have dinner one night. We're all walking from the Airbnb, and it's I don't know, like 10 of us, and we're on the sidewalk. We're not like in the street, like on the edge or on the curb. Like we're like grass or sidewalk. We're like far, and I'm luckily in the back. So we have a couple of kind of different groups who walk at different speeds, and we hear this grinding. I look up and I hear people yelling, and this guy's like straight hitting the curb and just riding in the curb, just scraping his whole wheel and rim and everything.
Oh no!
And like I look up, and it's about that time that he realizes what's happening, and he jerks himself off of the curb and but still like barely on the road. And I'm looking at the guy, and he has no clue what's going on. Like he is out in terms of like mental awareness. He was like 99.
There was definitely a guy. Was that when we went to the Cheval place?
Yeah.
Because I saw the guy turn the corner, and he turned so sharply he hit the curb, and we must have been further back from you, because I was like, that dude's definitely drunk. And then he just kept going, but I was like, holy crap, he almost came up on the curb.
He's like 99 years old. He was just out of it. I think he came from the casino. Like he lost everything. And then so like we were very careful, and Brad started walking on the grass. Like he was like extreme to the left, like he's like, I'm getting away from the road. And then the other one was like, I'm going to the airport. It's the morning that I'm leaving. Luckily, Nick, old school Pokemon, shout out Nick, appreciate you, my friend, was driving me there with Walrus and Brad in the car, because they're going to then go to the Collecticon and do the live event that Nick had. And we're at the stoplight, and I hear like a horn honking and like just people yelling. And so I kind of look to my right, and then I see this white Audi kind of pull up very quickly, hit the brakes, and like two guys are smashing on the windows, trying to break into the car and screaming and yelling. And this is all happening so quickly. I couldn't tell if there was like a weapon in their hands or like a gun or anything. I'm just like, well, what is happening? He like speeds off, burns tires. They run back to their car, which is like a black BMW, and then chase after this dude. And I look over at Nick and Walrus, and we're like, wow. I think Walrus said, welcome to Chicago.
Yeah. Man, that would be terrifying.
I was like, all right. So which one was more memorable? I'm gonna say the guy hitting the curb, because there was just so many of us. We talked about it for a little while. Like I got to see the guy's face. I looked into his eyes. I think that one was a life appreciation moment.
Yeah. Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, I definitely witnessed one of them. Obviously, I didn't witness the one with the two people trying to bust into the car. That would be frightening.
No thanks. I'll pass on that one.
Yeah. All right, Chef, I think is fishing for compliments here. Who has the best shipping packaging out of all the friends in the hobby?
Ooh. If you ask Walrus, he would say himself.
Of course he would.
But if I had to really throw something out there that I can't confirm, but just given the volume, I would say probably one of the most efficient in terms of what they're moving would be like Rob at RNG Games. He has a pretty good operation. I've talked to him a few times. So obviously, his videos show a little bit behind the scenes. I think he has a pretty good process going, and he would probably be up there with the top 3 or 5.
Yeah, if I ever wanted to rip packs, I'm very jealous of Rob that he gets to open all these cool Japanese sets, these vintage Japanese sets from back in the day, the X and Y and the black and white and all that cool stuff. Definitely a cool setup there. Definitely jealous of his channel and his community, and
he's doing a great job, man. I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, he's doing awesome. And then we will actually wrap it up with this question from Lurkin Lowry.
All right.
When is the next live stream?
I know, man. Yes. I appreciate you calling me out. Definitely. I won't get into the whys and excuses, but for sure, I plan to do one this week, just to kind of catch back up with Collecticon, a couple of health issues. I was like, all right, it's time to get back. I need to have a live stream. I said to myself today, I'm like, no, I can't do it after today's podcast with Java. It's too much. So I'll schedule it probably tomorrow or in the next day for the weekend. So stay tuned, my friend, and I appreciate you. Much love, buddy. Much love.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we will wrap it up there. Thank you very much, Wonder, for hopping on and hanging out and supporting me in this 30 days, 30 chats project I got going on. It was a fantastic convo. Learned a lot, just like I always do. And if you want to shout out to people where they can support you one more time before we close it down.
Guys, just find us at PokemonWonder.com. It has all the links, all the podcasts, everything that we do is all linked there. So I appreciate all the support, all the love, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow. I will be talking to... Oh, I closed my calendar. Tomorrow I will be talking to Larry, Fujisan Card Shop, one of the live streamers for Shining Cards and Collectibles. So
I love it.
That'll be a fun one. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.